Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello everyone. Today we're going to make this large double display card with matching envelope. It's inspired by Sam from Mixed Up Crafts. This video is part of a hop on YouTube, and if you go to the description down below, you'll see a link for the next person on the hop. I have all my mats and layers here ready, as well as my piece of card that I'm going to use for the envelope for this. There's going to be 26 areas of mats and layers, and I'm going to use this lovely copper metallic card as well as the papers from the Happy You trim craft pad. So let's get started. So I'm starting with these copper pieces, and we're going to need 6 of them, and they're 5 3/4 by 1 3/4. Then we're going to use 6 pieces of our patterned paper, and these measure 5 1/2 by 1 1/2. So they're the first mats and layers that we're going to need for our card. Next we're going to need 6 pieces, and that's 2 copper pieces, 2 patterned papered pieces, and 2 white pieces. These 2 copper pieces measure 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Then the patterned paper, these 2 measure 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. And then our white pieces, which we're going to put some sentiments on, these measure 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. And I've got 2 lovely stamps that I'm going to put on those. Now we're moving on to the layers that are going to be in the center of our card at the front and the back. We need 2 pieces of copper, 2 pieces of patterned paper, and 2 pieces of white. The copper one measures 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and we'll need 2 pieces. We need 2 pieces of our patterned paper as well, and they measure 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. And then we'll need 2 pieces of our white paper, and they measure 5 1/4 by 3 1/4. And we're going to put a sentiment on both of these white ones. So we're going to need 4 pieces of our copper card measuring 3 3/4 by 1 3/4, and we're going to need 4 pieces of our patterned paper measuring 3 1/2 by 1 1/2. Next we're going to need some little pieces of the copper paper, and of that we're going to need 12 little pieces. Each of these measure 1 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. We're also going to need some patterned paper to go on top of that, and these little pieces are going to measure 1 1/2 inches by 1/2 inch, and again we'll need 12 of those. We're also going to need a strip of paper for our belly band, and this piece I have measures 12 inches by 1.5 inches. On top of that I'm going to sit some other card that I have cut myself. Now you can die cut out pieces to go on top. I've cut out this piece of copper card which measures 4 1/2 by 3 1/2. I've cut out a piece of the patterned paper, and this measures 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and also a white piece of card measuring 4 by 3. And I'm going to die cut out a sentiment, be happy, be bright, be you, and put that on that. Next we have a piece of paper measuring 11 1/2 by 11 1/2, and this is going to be used to make our envelope. Finally, I have 2 pieces of cardstock, and these are going to be the base of our card. Each one measures 12 by 6, and I've scored it at 2, 4, 8 and 10, and you need to do that on both pieces of card. We need to make 2 cuts into each card, and you can use your craft knife and a ruler, or you can use a trimmer. I like to use my Fiskars trimmer that I have here, and it has an extendable arm. So I'm going to place my card in here at the long side, and I'm going to measure in at 6 inches. So I'm going to get my pencil, and I'm going to make a mark there. I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to mark it again at 6. So we're going to have a mark at the top and the bottom. I'm putting a template there at the top left hand corner so you can see where I'm putting my little marks. I have an inch long mark from the top and an inch long mark at the bottom. So where the red lines are on our template, we're going to need to cut, and I'm going to use my Fiskars Trimmer to do that. But first I'm going to put the same marks on our second piece of card. I'm going to mark down 1 inch from the 6-inch mark at the top and up from the 6-inch mark at the bottom. I have my card in my trimmer, and the right hand side is level against the 1-inch mark on the top right hand side of the trimmer. I've put a little mark there where my inch is at 6 and at the score line of 2. I'm going to drop down the plate on my trimmer, just making sure that everything is lined up. Once I'm happy with where the card is, I'm going to lift up that plate and bring my trimmer, the blade, to 6-inch and cut down till it's at the 2 inches. So you can see there I have a cut from the 6-inch mark to the 2-inch mark. I'm going to do that again on the left hand side. So I have the card base is at 1 inch there at the top. On the left hand side you can see where the 1-inch mark is. I'm going to lift and bring my blade down to where the 6 is. I'm going to press it down into the card and cut through right up to the 2-inch mark. So that cut line ends at the first score line. So I'm going to do that again now. I'm going to do it with the second piece of card because we need to do that on both pieces of our card. So again, my card is in, it's at the 1-inch mark at the top on the right. I'm dropping down the blade at 6 and putting it through the whole way up to the 2-inch mark. And again, I'm going to do that on the left hand side. The card is going to meet up with the 1-inch mark at the top. I'm going to bring the blade along the plate that's lifted up. I don't want it to start cutting until I get it to the 6-inch mark on the plate. So I'm just making sure that my card base is at 1. Now I'm bringing the blade to 6, pressing it down to the 2 and then lifting it. Now I missed it a little bit there at the bottom, so I've just gone over it again. So there you can see our 2 cut marks on each side. Now we'll put our trimmer away and we'll fold over on our score marks. So now we need to fold or burnish our score lines, and the first one is going to be folded back, so it'll give us a mountain fold. And then we're going to fold in on our second score line, but we're going to fold out on the second score line on our little inch pieces at the top and bottom. So it's going to look something like that. So we have all our score lines burnished, and now I'm going to take the folds there on the left hand side and make sure that they're nicely burnished down and folded down. I'm going to press on them like that and then push down on those top and bottom pieces. So let's do that again with our second piece, and hopefully you'll get to see this a little bit better. So we're making a mountain fold at the first score line, and then at the second score line we're going to, on the top inch piece and bottom inch piece, we're going to make them into mountain folds, and then the piece in the middle will be a valley fold. So then we're going to take the whole thing and fold it over like this. We're going to make sure that our little inch pieces at the top, which will fold over on each other, that they're nice and straight and even. Once we have that down, then we can take our bone folder and we can burnish those score marks again. Make sure they're nice and straight and flat. So I'm happy with that now. That's sitting up properly like that. So we have the 2 bases now folded on their score lines, and we have just 2 score lines left to fold. The first one is going to be folded into a mountain fold, and the second one will be a valley fold. We'll take our bone folder and we'll crease them down nicely. Once we've that done with this card base, I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other card base. So once we have those 2 folded, they're going to join together like so, and that will give us our 1 full card. So now we have both card bases folded on their score lines and burnished, and this is how they'll look when they're both put together. So now what we need to do is take all our mats and layers and stick them down. So what I'm going to do is speed up the video, and I'm going to speed it up by 8 times and get all the mats and layers ready to be stuck onto the card. So while we're putting together all our mats and layers, I thought I would talk to you about how I started on YouTube and how I started making cards. My husband and my daughter Megan are the two that a year and a half ago bought me some products for card making. I really enjoyed making my first few cards with the different things that they had bought me for Christmas, and I thought to myself, maybe I could do this and do a YouTube channel showing what I'm making. My husband and my daughter Alicia are the two that encouraged me to watch YouTube videos and see how other people are making and creating and what they're sharing on YouTube. I watched Jennifer Maguire, Sam from Mixed Up Craft, who has inspired this card, Lizzie from Love from Lizzie, Amy Orr, Desiree. There are so many fantastic crafters out there, and they all inspired me on this journey that I'm on. I'm so lucky that I can be at home with my 2 dogs, Buster and Ghost, and that I can have the time to craft and create, and I'm really appreciative of that fact. Usually while I'm crafting here in my craft room, I have my fur buddy at my feet. Buster, who is the oldest of the 2 dogs that we have, generally sits in here and keeps me company while I'm crafting. Ghost, our younger dog, likes to be in the sitting room, generally on the couch if he can get away with it, looking out the window at the world going by. I know that I'm very lucky. I get to come into my craft room every day and create if that's what I want to do. I'm very blessed to be able to do that. I know that there's people out there who would like to be doing what I'm doing, and all I can say to you is have a go. We're all different and we all bring something new into the mix. And that's a great thing to be able to do. And I really do encourage you that if you want to do something like this, to go ahead and give it a go. It doesn't have to be perfect. I know what I do isn't perfect, but I love being able to be creative and put my own spin on things. So if you'd like to have a go with doing this, whether it's on YouTube or on a blog or Facebook or Instagram, I would definitely encourage you, have a go. So now let's get on and finish up with the card. I'm putting some strong adhesive tape down now, and I'm going to bring those right up against each other. Then once I take the release tape off the top, I can put my panel down on top of that, and that will bring the 2 cards together. So we have our panel for the front, and we also have a panel to go on the back of that. And we're also going to put down all our mats and layers. So I'm going to let the music play on and you can watch me doing all that. That's our card all finished with all our mats and layers on, and all we need to do now is make our belly band. So I have a white piece of card that I'm going to stick down onto some pattern paper, and that's then going to go onto our metallic card. I also have a strip of the patterned paper to make the belly band, and that measures 1.5 by 12, but I'm going to layer that onto some grey card. That piece measures 1 3/4 by 12, so I'm going to wrap the grey piece around the back of the card, and then I'm going to take some of the patterned paper and I'm going to place that on the front. So So I'm just marking how long that needs to be. So that piece of pattern paper for a finish will measure 7 3/4 by 1.5. I'll slide that over my card and then just get an idea of where I need to put some glue to put this panel on the front. I have the matching die set for this Happy You pattern paper, and I'm going to die cut out the Be Happy, Be Bright, Be You sentiment, as well as the faceted heart and the smile. I have a little punch in my stash, and I'm going to use that to punch out some hearts in the copper metallic paper as well as the grey. So I'm going to put these different pieces that I've die cut out. I'm going to put some of the copper faceted hearts on the top left and the bottom right of my card. I'm going to take the smile that's die cut out in the copper and put that at the top left hand side in our middle panel. I'm also going to take one of the faceted hearts that I cut out in grey, and I'm going to put that on the bottom right of that panel. I'm going to put some hearts in the copper and the grey on the front, and in the copper on the back of the panel. I'm also going to take some of the grey hearts that I punched out, and I'm going to put them on the top right hand side of the card and on the bottom left hand side of the card. I'm going to glue them down using some Nuvo Glue. I've got my Spectrum Noir pen, and I'm going to put that on any of the die cuts that I've done in the grey. I'm going to put that on liberally, and I'm going to give it 2 coats so it'll be really sparkly. Now we're going to move on and make the envelope for our card, and I have a piece of the pattern paper and it measures 11.5 by 11.5. I'm going to bring in my We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board, and I'm going to use this to make the envelope. I'm putting the paper in, and it's up as far as the mark 4 7/8. Then I'm going to take the score tool, and making sure it's on the measurement there, I'm going to score down. Now it won't score the whole way down, but that's okay. I'm going to punch, and then I'm going to flip it right around to the other side. I'm going to line it up at 4 7/8, use my score tool again and punch. Now I'm going to make sure that on the right hand side there where my thumb is, that the little piece there is lined up. Once that's lined up, I'm going to punch and score. Then I'm going to flip it around to the other side. And again, I'm going to make sure that that little piece there at my thumb is lined up with the score line, punch and score again. And that'll give us our scored envelope. All we need to do now is take the sharp points at each corner, pop it into the tool there and punch down, and that'll round off the ends. So I'm going to do that on all 4 of the corners. Once we have all 4 corners of our piece of pattern paper rounded off, we're going to move our envelope punch board out of the way. I'm then going to take our piece of patterned paper and I'm going to burnish all the score lines. I'm going to take my card now and I'm going to sit that on the center of our envelope. By doing this, it's going to mean that when we fold over the 3 panels here, bottom and 2 sides, it'll allow us the bulk of our card. If we didn't do this before we tape it, then our card won't slide into the envelope. But by doing this, it allows us to put the tape down and give enough room for our card to slide in. So I'm crafting away here happily, and my husband has come in from work. He's popped in to have a little nose to see what I'm doing and what I'm making, and he's distracting me. I should be putting some of this tape down just about halfway on each side here, but instead I'm going to bring it up the whole length. This is what you generally do on an envelope, but with this one it's so big that those side panels you can see at the top and bottom, they're not going to come up the whole way to the top. They're only going to come up about 2/3 of the way. Now I'm here happily putting my tape down and I haven't realized that I've done this mistake. I'm going to press down on the tape and I'm going to take off the release paper, and with this tape it can be a little bit hard to do it with your fingers, so I usually would use a pokey tool or a pair of my crafting tweezers. So I'm chatting away with him, I'm taking off the release tape on both sides, minding my own business, chatting away, and let's see what's going to happen. So I'm removing the release paper off both sides. I'm going to put my card back in so that when I put my side pieces on, it'll have room for my card. And just as I do that, I realized, oh no, I've put too much tape. Oh dear, I'm so disappointed, and I'm kind of annoyed with my husband because he's the one that distracted me. I've taken my Fiskars scissors and I'm thinking about cutting off that part that's sticking up there, but I don't really want to do that. So I thought to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my EK Success tool, or you can use your powder bag, whatever you have on hand. Even a little bit of baby powder will work. I'm going to put that on over where the tape and the sticky part of the tape is, and I'm going to rub it in with my finger to make sure there's no sticky left on that bit. So I'm happy with that now. I'm just looking to gauge how much tape I need to put on the closing part of the envelope. And I'm just going to put one strip, and I'm going to make sure it's nice and tidy and up against the edge of the envelope there. I'm going to put one on each side, and that way, if I'm going to give this card to someone, I can remove the release paper when I'm ready and then seal up the envelope. We're more or less finished now with our beautiful large double display card and our matching envelope. I'm going to put a finishing touch on the outside of the envelope. I have one of my die cuts, the smile that I have in the copper paper, and some of my little copper hearts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and glue it down using my Nuvo Glue. So I have my smile and a little heart right beside it. That's our lovely large double display card with belly band and matching envelope finished. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please click on the thumbs up to give it a like. If you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing, and if not, you might consider clicking on the bell icon below to become a subscriber. I'd like to encourage you to go to the description down below and click the link for the next person in this encouragement card hop. And until next time, bye bye.